Welcome back. I'm your host, Jonathan Jacobs, and if you're a long-time listener, you might notice a fresh coat of paint around here. I am beyond excited to welcome you to my newly rebranded podcast, Issued for Construction. Evolving from my roots at Behind the Build, I'm stepping into an exciting, new, independent chapter, and the blueprint has never looked better. I have an absolutely incredible roster of guests lined up for you. Moving forward, I'll be bringing you the best in architecture every Monday and diving deep into interior design every Thursday. Be sure to check out the liner notes for all the details on today's featured guest, a sneak peek at my upcoming schedule, and links to my amazing sponsors who make this show possible. Thank you for being a part of this new era. Today, I've got with me a gentleman, originally from just outside Toronto, and moved out east. And then opened an office back in Toronto, and then opened an office in Berlin. I've got today with me Omar Gandhi of Omar Gandhi Architects. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me, and I'm sorry that this took so long.
Oh, no, it's okay. I mean, seemingly, as I just described, I've been a little bit busy.
Yeah, I'm sort of all over the place.
Yeah.
I just came from the airport before this, and I'm going to the airport right after this. So yeah.
We're on a time crunch today, so I'm going to try to pack in as much as I can. And I will always start this podcast off getting to know people from their early age. And so where were you born? What did it look like growing up? What were your interests? If you don't mind getting into some of that, let's just go right into it.
Yeah, for sure. I was born in Toronto, actually, at Mount Sinai. My parents, we ended up living in Etobicoke, and then we eventually moved out to Brampton, 35, 40 years ago.
Okay.
And then into Heart Lake in Brampton, which is right on the border of Caledon. And I went to high school, and most of my elementary school was all out that way, but high school in particular was a high point. I went to I was in Caledon at Mayfield Secondary School, which is a regional arts school.
Okay.
And that was, I would say, definitely the fork in the road.
Why?
I was able to basically spend a portion of every single day for 5 years in art class. And I was surrounded by people who also had to apply to be in the school. And so it was an incredible opportunity to be around like really, really talented people. Yeah, it was just a time to focus on it, I think, and have incredible teachers. I loved going to school out in the country, although I wasn't that far away. I grew up essentially on the outer rim of the suburbs at the time, which,
Right.
30 years later is, tens of kilometers further than that now.
Yep.
But essentially where I grew up, it was, brand new suburbs. And then, 10 minutes away, you were in the country, like really in the country. And my high school was, way out in the country. And so people traveled, because of the density of where people lived there, people were on a bus for like an hour to get to high school,
Right.
coming from all over Orangeville and Caledon East and, all over the place.
Bolton.
Yeah, Bolton, exactly. Yeah. So it was pretty cool to be on the bus. And then at some point during the year, you just get like the crazy stench of cow manure all of a sudden, which, you don't really experience any kind of variation when you're in the burbs. It was cool.
Unless people are fertilizing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Dr. Green.
Yeah, I mean, I did that on my lawn earlier this year, and I think I upset some of my neighbors. Sorry, everyone, but my grass was super green.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Before we go too deep into the conversation with Omar, I want to share how incredibly proud I am to have Kaplan's Appliances back on board as one of our key partnerships. Continuing the relationship with them is really a reflection of the shared values we have when it comes to building a true ecosystem in this industry. Kaplan's is all about fostering a sense of community and shared purpose. They genuinely care about everyone's collective success, and they deliver a level of professionalism and service that goes well beyond what you'd expect in any service industry, let alone an appliance retailer. I can tell you firsthand, and I have heard it from countless partners within the industry in both design and construction, that Kaplan's has been a key component of both mine and their success over the years. Their support for the construction and design community as a whole is massive, and I'm thrilled to have them supporting the show. With that said, if you want to learn more about all of the brands that they carry, whether it's Sub-Zero, Wolf, Miele, Genair, Fisher & Paykel, La Cornue, DCS Outdoor, and way more, well, you can head over to the liner notes. You'll see a link to Kaplan's Appliances, or if you want, I can make a personal introduction for you. Email me. It's Jonathan, JONATHAN, at issuedforconstruction.ca. Now, let's get back to Omar. And were you always interested in the arts when you were when you're 5-6 years old? Were you drawing, or were you playing with Legos, or were you
Not
working with
Legos.
science kits? What was it like?
Not Legos. My dad was, although he was in the sciences, he always had an interest in the arts. He was, very talented, but, certainly went in a big kind of other direction from that for schooling. And so I think when he saw that I had a little bit of talent, he really kind of put time into encouraging me to do it, and, was teaching me and, that sort of stuff. But yeah, definitely my time in that high school was good because I was definitely at the bottom of the pack in terms of raw talent. There was some serious talent. A lot of, classmates of mine have gone on to Disney and, all different sorts of fields that are pretty incredible. So it was nice to be around such young talent.
And do you still keep in contact with any of those people?
Yeah, I mean, Facebook's one of those funny things, right? It's like
Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, I remember even thinking in 2007 when Facebook came out, it was basically a year short of our 10-year high school graduation reunion.
Okay.
And Facebook came out, and so all of a sudden you were connected with people who you weren't in touch with for the better part of a decade.
Yeah.
Normally that reunion would have been like a big deal, really exciting, but Facebook totally flipped. Yeah. And so I remember my buddy planned the reunion, and, there were like 8 people in a graduating class of like 500 because of that.
Yeah.
So, things changed quite quickly in that period of time.
It's so funny because my wife and I always joke about how little we go on Facebook nowadays, because it's our generation and the older generation that's on there, and like the new generation has no interest. It's
yeah, exactly. No interest. And it's where our parents and that generation are hanging out, right? Yeah. So it's
keeping in touch with people. So you went to this incredible high school with a lot of talented people, and at what stage in that school environment did you come to the terms with the idea that you could have an education in architecture? Was it something they brought forward to you, or is it something that you brought upon yourself?
Again, it was my father. Okay. You're approaching the end of high school. I was in OAC at that point, yeah. Right?
Bless it.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, the heat's on, what are you going to do? And it was really a teacher of mine, Jane Marshall, incredible artist. Part of our curriculum was learning about architectural history as well as art history. And so I really kind of took to that and started thinking, maybe this is a direction. And my dad really encouraged that as well. And I realized as a teenager, we typically shrug off what our parents are saying at that point, but it just, the stars aligned, and I was, really excited about it. And so I have, as I'm sure we'll get into, a very kind of laser focus about things once I've decided, but not all things go your way. So, I basically only wanted to go to Waterloo. Like that was like number one on the list. And then I ended up filling in a bunch of other things because you have to apply for a minimum.
Yeah.
I think it was like Carleton and U of T for their new undergrad.
Yeah.
And went out to Waterloo with my dad. My dad waited in the kind of just the visitor parking while I went for my interview. And he was, I got back to the car and he was like, how did it go? Really excited for me. And I just looked at him and I was like, not good. Like, really, really not good. I had a portfolio and no, I got rejected hard. Like it was a hard rejection that, I can joke about now, but, at the time that was like a major defeat, which is, damn good to get that practice in early.
Oh,
Damn good because, that.
Well, you're either going to become a defeatist or you're going to become a conqueror.
Yeah.
Right?
Whatever that is, it hurts and you have to get used to that pain. Anyways, ended up going to U of T for not an architecture program, but their new BA, which was sort of like an almost architecture program.
Okay.
But eventually you needed to then go on to do a master's or go to another architecture school, which was accredited. So I ended up going to U of T for this program, and it was a massive program. It was the first year of it. So they were sort of resolving things as they were going, but might be exaggerating. But, I think the class was, 300-400 people just in the inaugural class. And it was tough. Yeah, it was, you were with a lot of people, but you were also studying things far beyond architecture. U of T is a tough environment. At least I found, it was humbling for me to go there and, be crushed by calculus and physics. I could tell you that I think I got 50 in calculus.
Which at the time was passing.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah.
Like
I'm sure there was some sympathy there because, anyways, I was getting beat pretty good in that period of my life. So and I've told this story, I think, pretty often, but it's a 4-year program and I was in the 3rd year and it dawned on me that my class of 300-400 people were all going to be applying to master's programs in Canada. And so there was going to be a massive swell of applications across the country. And I don't know who told me, I don't know if I figured it out on my own, but I started after, near the end of the 3rd year to start looking around to see where I could go early. And it essentially just kind of turned my head east to Halifax at Dal, which accepted students after 2 years of post-secondary education.
Right.
Had a great reputation, and I didn't know Halifax from Hamilton really at that point, but I was also getting crushed at U of T, and so I was just excited to leave Toronto.
Get me out of here.
Just get me out of here. The
Put me
city,
a slower pace.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
It didn't matter where I was going. And, I think my time at Dal was certainly highlight of my academic life. It was amazing. It was an amazing school. It still is. You learned how to make things by hand, where I brought, illustration and drawings and graphic sensibilities. I was learning from people who had a lot of experience with building or, detailing, and, so you're really learning from everyone around you. And it just so happened, or it felt like people were from other places. So we were sort of there together.
Right.
Which is the opposite of the University of Toronto, where most people are living in the area and they go home to, their parents' house at the end of the day. There's not really that kind of community, right?
Yeah.
So it was beautiful. Yeah, it was a beautiful thing. So after school finished, I moved back to Toronto to work at KPMB and Young and Wright Architects. Eventually got bought by IBI, but spent a couple years interning and, working my butt off.
KPMB.
Yeah, just where those 2 places that I worked. Just learning as much as I could.
And what were you like? What types of projects would you have been working on as an intern?
Well, interesting thing. So I worked at both of those places for co-ops as well. So It was my second time at both of those firms.
Okay.
In brief stints. I would say one of the coolest and most important things as an extension of my early career and education was I worked at Young and Wright, and those guys are, they did the Sky Dome, for example. They did massive projects everywhere.
For those unfamiliar, the Sky Dome is also known now as the Rogers Center, but it is still the Sky Dome.
Yes, that's right. So Roderick Robbie, he designed that, and Jamie Wright was my mentor at Young and Wright. And there happened to be, so it was at the corner of St. George and Bloor, several of these sort of historic buildings that they filled. But down the road, there was another house. And on the top floor, there was a secret department. And what they did was private residences for Jamie Wright's friends, all up north.
This was a division of Young and Wright?
A division of Young and Wright that had nothing to do with the rest of the company, nor did it get any real publicity. It was basically, it was Jamie's friends and contacts, and it was their beautiful Muskoka cottages. And there was a little room of, 2 architects and a couple draftspeople who I learned everything from. Like those draftsmen, I was on site, I was figuring it out. I was answering the phone all of a sudden, which, gave me a heart attack every time. Steve Abrams was a guy, he's the kind of draftsman that still draws by hand, but knows more about building construction than anybody. And I learned an enormous amount from that guy. And so, you go through all of these sort of layers of education and experience, but it was not an architect officially who I kind of really learned the most from, along with Jamie Douglas and a couple other guys there. It was a special experience.
As you just heard Omar talk about Muskoka, for those unaware, if you're listening outside of Toronto, let me tell you, Muskoka is a haven. There are 3 lakes. There's Lake Muskoka, Lake Rosso, and Lake Joseph. And it is embedded in this nook of Canada that has beautiful granite rock, picturesque landscapes. The air is crisp. It's amazing. And it leads me to talk about the Doors. The Doors is a phenomenal window and door company that's been operating for 20 years. Why do I bring them up? Well, it's because they're a family-owned business run by Martin and Marta. They have built a truly incredible reputation working alongside fantastic architects and designers on some really beautiful projects. Imagine sitting inside of your retreat and you're looking through this beautiful framed window at the rustic trees outside, the lake just past it. You crack it and you can get this lovely cool breeze coming in off the lake. You can find their work starting here in Toronto, spanning across Canada into North America, and even stretching into the Caribbean and the Bahamas. And there really is no type of project that doesn't suit their needs. They supply everything from vinyl and fiberglass into their core line of aluminum products, all the way up to steel and really thin, beautiful profiles, totally customized wood door systems, and even massive curtain walls. But what makes them really special is their commitment to relationships, and we all know what that means in this industry. Relationships drive the business. And if they aren't working, nothing is working. Because their name is tied to the business, Martin and Marta care deeply about the customer experience. In fact, Martin is personally engaged with clients from their initial quote all the way through to the installation of the service. If you want to learn more about them and their service offerings, you can check them out directly. There's a link in the liner notes. You can visit it there, or you can email me and I'll make a personal introduction. My email address is Jonathan, that's Jonathan, at issuedforconstruction.ca, and I'm happy to introduce you to their fantastic team. But now, let's go back to the feature, Omar. And so were you working between the main office and this small office, or had you shifted?
I had sort of been shifted over to this little special room, basically, which was kind of operating on its own. But, I had never been on site before or really understood, even if I knew how to draw something, I didn't really know what I was drawing. It's like these are symbols almost, right? But to actually understand what it means, to have those conversations with builders. My background being in the arts, I didn't have that kind of knowledge,
Right.
or and certainly not confidence. So it was like just being thrust in it.
And how long were you there?
I was there for maybe 2 years.
Okay.
And then I got a call from Marianne saying, we have this project. It'd be great if you came back to KPMB. And so it was, an amazing opportunity to jump back over there and, be surrounded by these incredible talents. And I worked on the Quantum Nano Centre at the University of Waterloo.
Okay.
And I was like, the bottom of the pile, right? It's a big team of people. And I was like the junior person.
Yeah.
I think the next junior person next to me was Deborah, who runs Design TO. Yeah, exactly. So we've become close over, the course of 25 years. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I did, at the end of my time there, which only was about another year and a half or so, I got asked by Bruce to work on a private residence, which they don't really do.
Yeah.
And so had the opportunity to work under Bruce and Paolo and Kevin Bridgman.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was pretty cool to learn from these guys. And I mean, they were the stars of the firm, and the partners now. So it was pretty cool to learn about these things from those guys. But
I would imagine, you're thrown into each one of these circumstances, which is one of the most interesting things about this entire career.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you leave someplace, you join another place, and you're working on these projects, and you're not always at the stage where they're in construction. So you're working on the plans, but then you're given another opportunity, so you're leaving, and you're not getting the opportunity to see that through, but the next opportunity is such a good one, and everybody kind of understands it in some capacity. They might not be happy you're leaving, but they can appreciate the fact that you're looking to pursue the growth of your career.
Exactly. And, leaving KPMB was because my wife and I at the time, she accepted a job at a hospital back in Halifax at the Children's Hospital. So, it was a family decision to move back, So, for me, I was, I'm from here. I had sort of imagined being here.
Yeah.
But so it's a bit of a curveball in life, but it, if I knew what it was going to lead to, I probably would have been that much more comfortable with it. But the only, I think, rule that I had was I needed to work at Brian's office.
Well, so what I find interesting, and I just want to allude to in this, so if anyone's listening to this, and whether you're in school or you're a junior, you're an intern, wherever you are in your career, I think one of the things that you've kind of had here as an underlying topic is that you've always been doing something that you've been uncomfortable with to try to work on becoming something that you're good at, whether that was finding rejection early so far, answering phones, which was not something you really want to be doing.
No. I mean, answering phones was, surprisingly the most terrifying thing, because you're talking to a builder. The builder doesn't have any empathy for, how long you've been on the job. They want answers. And those answers determine the cost of something, or, if something's a mistake, or, whatever. Right. So,
new clients, were new clients calling the Young and Wright office? Like, you're now the front end of the business.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wasn't answering phones like administrator. It was more just I had to answer site questions from the builder, which is like, like the most terrifying thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to go back very far, where even builders were not concerned about being very gentle. They're barking on the phone.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm glad that I went through that, obviously, but it was terrifying at the time.
Well, and then you're talking about having like the laser focus, and when you kind of flip the switch that you're on, when you're met with those kinds of challenges, it's hard to remember the course when you're being met with things that you didn't expect and you don't necessarily like.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So, battle through those challenges, because what you're not forecasting is where some of the best stuff can come. So you head back out east, and you go work with Brian.
I did, and it was only because I didn't have a relationship with him. It was just one of my closest friends had been there for a long time, was an associate there, and
Mhm.
so I think got me in the door really. And so I ended up working there. Amazing people. Brian's office has always had an incredible collection of people from all over the
Yeah,
place,
this
all
is
over.
this is by the way, this is MacKay Lyons Sweetapple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Brian, MacKay Lyons. And yeah, so you're surrounded by people from all over North America, really. Small office, but a fantastic group of people. And so got to work on some beautiful houses and some resort type projects,
Mhm.
and made some lifelong friends.
And how long were you there?
I was there, I believe, 2 years or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was it that sparked, or was it always an underlying current within you that you wanted to do your own thing? What's
No, not at all.
okay?
And in terms of this laser focus thing, I didn't have laser focus even up to the point I'm talking about. It's more just I was ping ponging, like I was going where the current was leading me.
Yeah, where the opportunity was, yeah.
Yeah, all I knew was I wanted to challenge myself, and didn't want to go backwards at all, and obviously was passionate about design, and so I was really in love with that environment of being around people who also were really committed.
Hmm.
So yeah, no. Did I have an idea of starting my own firm? No. Did I even think about it? No. Never dreamt it, never thought about it. And, it may have been a mile at the back of my brain, but that was like way down the road. I
Right.
got laid off. And so, I had moved to Halifax with my wife,
Yeah.
and had no interest in working anywhere else, so was kind of stuck,
Yeah.
because we had sort of shifted our life over there.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got to it right away, because I wasn't going to be like, the one thing that I would say is, I wasn't going to be like just laying about. I wanted to get at it right away. And so until I figured out what I was going to do, I actually signed up to work with this gentleman, David Chason. And the only reason I got connected to him was through one of my closest friends, incredible architect, Eric Stotts, who at the time still worked at MacKay Lyons Sweetapple. A phone call came in to the office, and this guy who was an engineer started like a drafting company. And it was like ABC drafting or something. It was like, a name that was designed only to be at the top of the yellow pages, so that any schmo who called about some stupid thing, his name would pop up and he would be,
Marketing 101.
yeah. So like, he would be the dumpster fire of that field, right? Like, you get the worst clients when you're just taking on anybody, right? Because you're the first on the list.
Yeah.
So my buddy Eric said, look, we don't, at this office, we clearly don't do anything like that. But a friend of mine just left, maybe just give him a shout. So I got connected with this guy who just got calls about like, moving the vanity in a bathroom, or a little deck, or they just need permit drawings for whatever. And so I, maybe for about a year, was just doing these silly drawings, and I was like the guy that was drafting, little decks, little bathroom reno, like very small projects. And each one paid $50, $100. So I did as much as I could over that period of time. And eventually, through a friend of my then wife and I, wanted an addition on the back of their house. And that was maybe about an hour and a half away from Halifax. But that was like a big project for me, like a whole addition. uh you know what do you call that here in Toronto? Like a mullet, right? Where you got the traditional front and the modern kind of rear of the building. And it was a project that I was really proud of. So like all of a sudden, when it felt like an actual opportunity, i I treated it like, okay, this is going to get published. Like I was, as soon as I saw just a little bit of daylight in there where this could be something,
Hmm.
I treated it as such. I mean, I did on the other things too, but
Yeah,
it,
but
it wasn't for
this is
anyone who
different.
even wanted
Yeah.
anything. And yeah, just met an incredible builder, a woman named Deborah Herman Spartanelli, who really became a mentor of mine for the first 5 years. She essentially raised three kids, became a Red Seal carpenter, lived off grid, like an absolute superhero, a huge
She's
hero
still
of mine.
building.
She's retired now, and that
Okay.
was sort of at the end of her career. Those projects, she actually did a beautiful project with Nova Teona as well,
Okay.
out east. Beautiful, beautiful project. But, I learned so much from her.
I would imagine.
So much,
Yeah.
because I didn't know, I still didn't know anything. And so, just going on site and asking questions and being a part of the process, but also pushing back in terms of design. And so she was doing stuff that she hadn't really done before either, and sort of just taking risks where, at the worst case scenario, I would just be doing more of these bathroom renos, for this guy.
Do you have recollection of a time where you were working with her and you both were trying to really figure this out, and it just like led to the two of you not even on site but in an evening just sitting down and talking about any of this? Did that ever happen?
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, our relationship was just so special. Like she really was encouraging me. It's like, it felt like a new experience to her, but she saw something in me and really, I think, committed
Hmm.
to mentoring me in a way, and really pushed her team to do something special as well.
Sorry, and her name again? Give it to me one more time.
Deborah Herman Spartanelli.
Deborah Herman.
Um,
Okay.
just, yeah, amazing. Yeah, so she really did like three or four contemporary projects at the end of her career. But that, whether it's contemporary or traditional or whatever, it doesn't matter. Like she was like, if a guy's got to go through obstacles in a field like that in carpentry to get a, whatever, imagine what she would have had to do to be taken seriously in kind of rural areas outside of a city in Canada, as a woman. I mean, and
So
she exceeded all of that.
so you say that, and I'm gonna add to this. So we're sitting in my studio here. The woman that framed my house in my studio, her name's Natasha,
Yeah,
and Natasha Fritz of Natural Carpentry, and the same thing. The stuff that she's had to deal with, including some brutal experiences here in the city.
yeah,
To be a woman and to be in carpentry, I mean, to be in this industry alone is just challenging. So I can appreciate the
absolutely,
importance of the education you get, because she taught me a lot too. So
100%. Yeah.
I love that.
So yeah, I was, yeah, once that first, I think, even addition project started getting underway and I saw some opportunity, that was it. The switch completely flipped and I became, I was already focused, but I became like laser focused. And that was, 16 years ago, 15 years ago, and it hasn't stopped.
So what did you do? What was like when I say what do you do? Like, did you say, okay, now I'm gonna go start my own practice?
It was sort of. I mean, it probably took the first couple. So right after that, and kind of overlapping, I had my first build, the Moore Studio. And then kind of right around that same time with Deborah again, there was a project called Shanti. And so these three projects that were probably separated by, 2 hours drive became sort of that was the start. And, I think I pushed myself as hard as I possibly could on those three. And not that that stopped, but like I saw that something was maybe possible. I hadn't even dreamt it. And as soon as I was able to convince myself that, maybe you can do it, like maybe you can do it, then there was no real stopping me really. And so that focus, I just tried to channel a lot of feelings, that I had. You have a lot of time to think when you're sitting in a room by yourself, right? And I would say, it was anger, it was determination, it was focus, it
Yeah.
was all of those things. And I say this only because I don't want to paint a picture of this being like some miraculous moment where, I was having a lot of fun. I wasn't having fun. I was killing myself because I wanted to maybe prove my value or place in this world.
Yeah, the way from you telling the story to me, and I will say this, I specifically don't do a whole lot of research on people in advance because I don't like to have that preconceived notion of who they are and what they are. I'd like to hear these things fresh. And I intentionally, because what I see is you've been involved in these different experiences up until this point where there's been some level of excitement and then some level of letdown. And you haven't been able to kind of get over the cusp of getting to that level of I've arrived and I'm now starting to find my niche and what I'm really good at and how to hone in on that, how to figure out what I'm not good at. Let's go.
Yeah. So, I would say that all happened in the first 2.5 years of my practice. And then I was able to hire people like one person at a time and move out of the house.
As Omar just discussed about those early projects out on the East Coast, I want you to think about the landscape. You got the magnitude, the rigidity, but also the softness and the calm you can feel when you're really connected to a site. That exact feeling is why I want to welcome back a returning sponsor, and that's Aquanta Pools. Aquanta is a company unlike anything else out there in the pool market. They are specifiers of biodesign, an Italian-based company working on a global scale, and they've introduced a proprietary pool system that completely redefines what a pool can be. It isn't fiberglass and it isn't concrete. It's a highly specified system using layers of membrane that go down and form a beautifully natural curve right through the earth. Imagine you have an incredible site with bedrock all around it, or you hit a massive boulder while excavating, and instead of fighting the land, Aquanta can actually turn that rock into a natural feature of the pool itself. It is also an incredible solution for landscaping. If you have complex tree root systems you want to protect, this membrane actually supports their growth, allowing the trees to flourish instead of inhibiting them. As city regulations continue to change to conserve and protect trees, this is a massive advantage. If you're interested in learning more about Aquanta and their biodesign technology, you can find all their product details right in the liner notes. Website's there. But if you want a personal introduction to Yuri, the founder of Aquanta, I'm happy to do so. Email me directly. It's Jonathan, Jonathan, at issuedforconstruction.ca. I'm more than happy to introduce you. Now, let's get back to those early days with Omar and what led him to hire his first person. What was it that led you to have to hire your first person?
An incredible architect out in Calgary, Dalton Kahn, was a graduate. Peter Braithwaite was a student at the time.
Yeah.
They made models for me. And then Peter came on and became really my first solid staff for the first couple of years and was, critical. And then Jeff Shaw, who had been with me up till recently for 13 years. I mean, we basically came up with, we were, I think the designers of this whole kind of process, really. Like, we did it together. And so, I couldn't have done it without these guys. The first 3 projects, were sort of the momentum by myself. And I would just say, fast forward. So fast forward at least till 2016 when I decided that I was going to open a Toronto office.
Okay.
So when I mean fast forward, I just mean it was an onslaught of projects.
And how?
Over the course of that period of time from 2010 to 2016, we probably did 20 houses all over Nova Scotia. Everyone we were proud of, pushing it as hard as we could, including Rabbit Snare Gorge that won a Governor General's Award. And just kind of giving it all on every project with, a budget that doesn't make sense anymore, after COVID. But, the bread and butter project that we did was between 300,000 and 500,000. Every single house we did in that period of time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of money.
No, well, not especially not now.
Yeah.
But even then, it's like, you're squeezing everything you can out of it.
Yeah. Okay. And so 2016, you decide you're going to open your Toronto office.
Yeah, I did. And I'll just say it. I got divorced in 2015, and so life changed a little bit
Yeah.
for me. And I missed my family. Like my family was here, and so part of the reason that I wanted to open this office was just so I could be closer to my best friends that I grew up with and my parents and all that sort of stuff. So the office kind of helped to facilitate loneliness and isolation and maybe, feeling a little bit trapped or whatever. And also just like, there was a lot of momentum. And so I always feel, and I feel this every morning, are you losing or not taking advantage of opportunities? Like you make your own luck, but you have to take advantage of that luck, whatever it is, whether it's luck or, earned or whatever. The scenario is either going to dissolve or you're going to use that momentum. And basically, I feel that to this day. It's like, this whole dream that somehow has become is always not far from being over.
Huh.
And
You and a handful of people I've spoken to that live in that mindset that like, I mean, I think I'm there too. If you're really driving and pushing,
yeah, I mean,
you've seen what it can be like when you've been on the other side, on the receiving end of the downturn.
yeah, exactly. And so I operate with that fear every day.
Yeah.
And that fear is translated, or at least it manifests into just work ethic or conviction or
Yeah.
whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
In all facets of the practice, because this dream is over the minute that it's over. And so the goal is to never let it end, right?
Yeah. So what did it look like as you tried to build out the practice here, establishing yourself in a new office? Now you're split, and I can appreciate all the reasons why you'd want to do it, but it also presents a whole new set of challenges in being able to stay integrated in what I think, like, you like being a part of the design. Right?
Yeah,
That
I
whole
mean,
process.
even in this period of time, we're still only like 5 people.
Okay.
So, I'm involved in everything, but people, we're very collaborative. So, I don't, unlike maybe some architects, I really just don't care about that aspect. Like the end product is the thing that's important. It doesn't matter who it comes from, whether it's from me or, people on the team. We work together. And everyone, that's why you hire smart, talented people is for that contribution, their intellect and their creativity. And so, that kind of thing of that divine sketch that everyone like bows down to. Yeah, I don't really care about any of that. Like, I just want to do cool things, whatever way we got to get there. So yeah, in that period of time, I was back and forth for 5 years, every 10 days.
Every 10 days.
Every 10 days for about 4.5 years. Yeah.
Holy cow.
So I was really, I think, just trying to maximize the potential in both places, drum up business, build relationships, being on site with, whenever that was important.
Yeah.
But the first piece of the puzzle over here was hiring Stephanie Hossein, who joined from KPMB, was a longtime friend of mine, peripherally actually, from Halifax. And she was looking for a change. And, I just said, let's make this happen. And we actually worked initially for the first year out of SVN's office.
Okay.
Drew Sinclair was extremely generous in letting us use like 2 desks, and then it was 3. And eventually we found our spot in Parkdale that we're still in now. And it was a core team of Lauren McCrimmon, John Gray Thompson, who's an associate now, and Stephanie, who's a partner. But yeah, I needed a core here as well as a small little team back there. So yeah, at this period of time, 2007, 8, it was like 6 people.
And were you doing at the time while you're planning all of this and working on all of this, were you working with anyone on the side of like business coaching, marketing strategies, or anything like this? And I ask this because I know that there's such a huge disconnect between what you learn in school and then operating a business, especially when you want to work on growing it.
Yep.
So what did that look like?
No, none.
None.
So I've
Okay.
never been a part of, EA or whatever it's called, or, that kind of stuff. No, not at all. I remember my former boss, Jamie Wright, telling me one time, you don't want to hang out with architects. Architects are never going to buy anything from you. And, you take that with a grain of salt, but there was truth in it, in that, the lesson is that your social sphere, I think, needs to extend beyond the profession. And in my own experience, I always found that hanging out too much within the profession often had negative tones to it. It often became like an avenue for, complaining about things. And so what makes it a little bit tougher as well is, like, I'm a very introverted person. So it takes a lot of work for me to actually go out and do stuff.
Well, so thanks for doing this.
Well, you were so nice about it, so I appreciate it. Yeah, you know what? The work kind of did the work for us. So I think that architects and creative people have to battle themselves to begin with. And the idea of putting yourself out there and sharing your work with the world is the most terrifying thing for a creative person. And I just sort of, took a gulp and just went for it. So in that period of time, we had so many projects that got, good coverage, that it sort of built the infrastructure of social media and, press and all of that for us. I had someone on who, a very dear friend of mine, Christy McDonald now, who kind of became my sidekick at the time for a good 6 years, where we tried to kind of bounce design or business development ideas and messaging and social media, but it was all internal. And, her background wasn't necessarily in that either.
Okay.
We just sort of, I think the most problematic part of the first several years is, as the one person who owns the company, you're kind of isolated, right? And so I found it very useful to have like a council within the office that I was able to kind of bounce things off of, where other people are more focused on the projects themselves
Mm-hmm.
or itself. So that was, I think, really important. But yeah, I really just think, every few months there was a new project coming out, and that was how we were able to get that kind of attention, but also in many ways like drum up new work. And I found it's so specific what we do that as we're building our portfolio, the bracket of people who are interested in that work becomes narrower and narrower.
Right.
And
the projects aren't $300,000 to $500,000 projects anymore.
No, exactly. Yeah. So the way I looked at it was, you just have to make it as easy as possible for people to stumble upon you. That's it. It's like, we're not messaging out there. It's just open up the kind of opportunity for people to find you.
Right.
And if it's the right fit, it's the right fit.
Right.
And so that's always really been the thing. But I think on the flip side of that, there's nothing more terrifying for me than having to lay someone off, for example, which has only happened really 2 times in 16 years. And I think the way I've combated that is just by staying small and growing as the need is there. Like, we're 18 now.
And that's across all offices?
Yeah.
So, okay.
So it's a small group in each office. Yeah.
So tell me, like, what led, I can appreciate what you say about wanting to open the office in Toronto. What led to opening in Berlin? And why Berlin?
Well, So, I think a lot of firms think of the States maybe as, where they might want to branch out. For me, it's really just opportunity. Any kind of press, or, if you happen to win an award or whatever, all those things just bring on potential opportunities. And so I wanted to really kind of open the door to get work outside of Canada, whether that office was in London or in New York or in, wherever. It didn't really matter. I just have a bit of a love affair with Berlin. I wanted to spend time there. I found that the kind of vibe of the city matched the vibe and aesthetic maybe of our work. And, maybe also a little bit more low key than some other cities. So
Mhm.
that was really it. We just sort of started that dream, in the back of our mind, like, 2017, 2018 or something. And when the opportunity was there, I just sort of went for it. And, that's growing slowly too. We have a project in Paris, we have a project in the south of the UK, and we have a project in Hamburg right now. So it's all kind of happening together, but without any kind of massive, quick growth. It's all incremental.
And the projects were, I know initially there was a lot of single family residential. Are they all still solely single family residential? Or are you doing more than that?
Yeah, doing more than that. We designed a library in Edmonton
Yep.
that's in the queue. We won a competition with KPMB, Super Cool, and GH3 for development in Hamilton. And we won a competition with KPMB for the new art gallery of Nova Scotia. So, hopefully all of these things happen.
Yep. And you've also done restaurants and
Yeah, we've done a lot of interiors,
yeah.
We've done products, we've
Yeah.
done furniture,
Yeah.
we've done lighting.
Yeah.
And maybe this is like a segue into this next chapter, but it's a bit of a funny chapter of I can't talk about it. There's like a growing number of things that we're working on now
You can't talk
that I
about.
can't even talk about.
It's okay.
Which is, you can imagine, very exciting.
Well, so you just referenced something, and I'm going to ask you just a couple questions now that are specifically from people that you know, that I reached out to.
Okay. Oh boy.
I haven't, in lead up to this, I told you, Omar, about this. You don't know who they are, so I'm gonna ask two of the questions first, and I'll tell you who they are afterwards.
Okay.
So the one question is, discuss your interest in product design, because you just referenced this, and how it influences how it's influenced by your architecture.
Yeah, I think our process is always the same. Maybe with the architecture, there is a contextual sort of element to it. We learn a lot about place and we try and tell a story about place through the work. In terms of the products and the furniture and such, in most cases, they've been derived or they started from a project. And so we have furniture, we have lighting that we designed for White Rock. It was designed specifically for that. The table is sold at Mjolk and the chairs, and there's a variety of things. A-Line's doing the lighting out of Toronto, and Concord did a light in Toronto as well. So they didn't like come out of thin air. They were related to one thing. The desire to do it really came from Jeff Shaw and I over the course of that decade and a half. His interest was always really in that intricate level of things. And I think our aesthetic has always been a little bit different from one another, and that produced really cool results. But when we do things independently, it's also interesting. So in short, if we can, we want to. Like it's really as selfish as wanting to scratch the itch. And part of the thing about being able to build my own place is that the only person that can say no to all those itches that need to be scratched is me, and maybe my bank.
You can find people to help with the bank.
Yeah.
Two more. This next one's from the same person. Discuss the importance of promotion to your practice. So publications, awards, podcasts, lectures, video exhibits. How do you evaluate the success of promotional strategies?
Yeah, you know what? It's really important. And ultimately you want whatever that is to be true to your own brand, which, you're developing, right? And like I said, it takes a lot of courage, I think, to put yourself out there, to want to be seen.
Yeah.
And that visibility comes with a lot of negativity. And it hurts for the first couple of years. Now, when I see things like that, it's like I'm judging them almost on the negativity of their feedback, in that I'm disappointed that was all. It sounds like a silly thing to bring that pain upon yourself, but I'm just like, really, that's it. So there's a loss of feeling, I think, on both sides, on the pain side as well as maybe the joy side, because it's just about the work and really kind of believing in the process that you're doing and not really worrying too much about those external things. But for the last few years, I had worked with an incredible team led by Lisa Barnes. They were helping me with communications work for the last couple of years. And, I think when you get to a certain scale and really want to get to the next level, you do need to start thinking about getting some external help, especially if you want to go beyond your immediate surroundings and want some messaging. So you know what, it's one of those necessary things. It's all, like I had said earlier, I think you need to make it as easy as possible for people to decide how they feel about you.
Yeah.
Whether they love you or they don't, they'll have neither of those feelings if they don't even know that you exist.
Yeah.
It's a big world. So yeah, Lisa was incredible to work with.
I've been in touch with her.
Yeah.
Okay, one other question. Bit of a statement and then into a question, but the architecture world can sometimes feel competitive and insular, as you've described, especially as reputations rise. So what have you learned by choosing a model of support rather than gatekeeping, and what responsibility do established architects have to invest in the next generation?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. It's hard, right?
Can you tell yet or no?
I don't, but I feel like I have a lot of great friends.
Okay.
And, especially friends who came up around the same time I did, went to school with or worked with.
Want me to tell you who it is? Do you want to answer it first?
Can I guess?
Yeah, sure.
Monica Adair?
No. I don't think you're going to get it. I'm just having
It's someone I know, though.
Yeah, I'm having fun with you here.
Oh.
You asked me about it, people out east.
Yeah, right.
And so I'll give you a hint. It's a duo from out east that just got fully licensed this year.
Fully licensed this year.
When I say fully licensed, like the
Bishop's McDowell?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
Super, super talented guys.
Matthew and Lucas.
They came up through Brian's office and immediately have started doing some beautiful, beautiful work. And
I chat with those guys fairly regularly. And
that's great.
They're just good people. So I figured I would ask them. So the first two questions came from Matthew, and that last one about mentorship comes from Lucas.
Oh, that's great. Maybe just remind me of the questions again.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. It was about mentorship.
Yeah. You know what? Just be a friend, I think it doesn't matter what other people are doing. It has no impact on you unless it does, but then that's your fault, right? I think it's really important to just remember what it was like at that time when there are so many unknowns, and it's a bit terrifying. And I've tried over the years to help where I could. And maybe because I'm a little bit, the work is out there and stuff, but, in person, I'm not really around all the time. I think when people have gotten to know me, they realize that, I can be that helping hand. So yeah, I think it's really important. And you know what? There's always going to be gatekeepers. There's always going to be people who are competing. There's in any field, in your field, in mine. And I think you really start to win when you block all of that out. Someone else's success has no bearing on your own.
I could not agree more with that.
And it was actually a business guy that told me that, a friend of mine who was the founder of Cabot Links, Ben Cowan-Dewar. He's not that much older than me, barely older, but he built like one of the biggest golf brands in the world out of Nova Scotia. And, I saw him, speak that way about people, like really positively, people who you would think would be in competing fields or whatever. And it just doesn't matter. It has no bearing on anything.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, when we lose in projects to other builders, and I know who we're competing against, I'm like, it's not about the money, it's about the people.
Yeah.
And if you're connecting with someone on a different level than you're connecting with us, great. If you're connecting with us more than someone else, great. Like there's always going to be enough work out there for talented people to be able to go and find their way, and you try to help people along the way. I mean, but in general, we're going to end up either in a vase or on the ground. Or maybe someone's going to get projected into space.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
So while we're here, we got to work on supporting the other people. And it's just a matter of fact.
Yeah. And, maybe I said that in a more like gentle, positive way than what I mean. What I mean is I don't really give a shit what anyone is doing. I don't have the attention span. Like it takes all of my brain power to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I hope for nothing but the best for everyone else.
Yeah.
Right. But that it also takes an enormous amount of energy to be a hater and a gatekeeper. And
Agreed.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Like I am surrounded by the people who are moving in a forward direction with momentum.
Yeah.
That's my sort of peer group. Those are the people I've surrounded myself at work. And I just want to have fun working on cool projects with people I really like. And what anyone else is doing has absolutely no bearing on what I'm doing at all.
Mm-hmm. What do you like? I'm looking at time, so we got to wrap this. But I want to ask you, what do you like to do for yourself to be able to go and have that fun? What are some of your hobbies? What are some of the things that you like to do to be able to take your mind off the other things that you're thinking about that can create some stress?
Yeah, well, as my partner and my son can probably attest to, I'm not very good at it.
Okay.
So, when I'm not working, I'm thinking about work.
Yep.
I am the last person on the planet to be advocating for balance. I mean, I'm advocating for your balance, but my own balance doesn't exist. So I'm not a balanced person. If I could be doing something other than this, I'd be the shortstop for the Blue Jays. I'm not ready to talk about that shit yet, the Blue Jays, but eventually.
Oh, come on. We got to own. It was like the greatest experience. Come on. It was so amazing.
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
It was beyond amazing.
It was surreal. That game ended at 3:00 in the morning.
I know.
Actually, 3:31.
Anyways, let's change the subject.
Okay, fair.
Okay, let's change the subject. I'm not there yet.
I tried.
And I played pretty serious ball growing up. So like it was, I was really...
You were emotionally invested.
Invested.
Clearly still.
And still...
I apologize. Little sandpaper on that. I apologize.
Yeah, so I'm either working or I'm staring at the ceiling thinking about work. I do like cooking though.
Okay.
I love that. I just like hanging out with my son and my partner Jolene, and we have a pretty like quiet home life, which is pretty wonderful.
That's nice. Okay, what's one of your favorite things you like to cook?
Ooh, favorite things I like to cook. You know what? I'm right now embarking on making French sauces, like the mother
French
sauces. Yeah, like as a.
Whoa.
I think. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm good at it. I'm just saying
it's
a beautiful. Whoa. It's a beautiful, I think, like compartmentalized exercise to try and learn some of these mother sauces and just kind of work at it. Like I come home and I like to go in the kitchen and they will back me up when I say that they're not allowed in the kitchen at all. Like for my home, I designed an island that doesn't have stools so that you can stand there as long as you want to stand, but there's no sitting, like no audience, no hovering. And so it's just like a beautiful thing to kind of focus on whether you get better at it or not, it's just fun to do it.
And have you been in a situation where you have been thinking about whatever it is that you're thinking about, and whatever you've got on the pan burns?
Yeah, no, I think I'm a switch on off person.
Okay.
So yeah, I think I'm able to tune out then.
Fair.
Yeah.
Look, man, it's been an absolute pleasure having you join me on this, and I appreciate the candor. I appreciate the fact that you were able to squeeze us in between travel. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
Likewise, and you have a beautiful home. It was
Thanks.
really nice that we could make this happen
Yeah.
finally, and yeah, I can't wait to hear how it all pans out.
Oh, I appreciate being part of this.